Okay, so let's start with CAD slot 2 VARC and let's start with the first question. The passage given below is followed by four alternate summaries, and we have to choose the option that best describes the essence of the passage. Okay, so let's start. Recent important scientific findings have emerged from crossing the boundaries of scientific fields. They stem from uh, physicists collaborating with biologists, sociologists, and others. Now, what happens? You are talking about two different people here that important scientific findings have emerged, crossing the boundaries of scientific fields. And these actually go on collaborating with biologists, sociologists, and others. Okay, but what happened when this physicist and their potential collaborators often find their cultures out of sync? So they are not syncing while extracting bot patterns for other scientists. Information is not readily disposed. Okay, so further is uncomfortable with mathematical models. So still they desire to work together on something new and is different real, and there are clear benefits from this collision of views. So I can see that two different areas are coming together, they are collaborating, and this collaboration is providing some benefits. Okay, so let's start with the options. So first option talks about physicists have successfully buried their differences on research methods applied in other fields in their desire to find answers to baffling scientific questions. So, first of all, they are not finding answers to some baffling questions and successfully buried their differences. So, these any kind of differences are not mentioned. So, we can eliminate this one. When I come to point number two, large data sets and mathematical models in physics research combined with research method of this non-physics collaboration have yielded important scientific findings. Now their collaboration is given, okay, potential collaboration is given, but collaboration of what? Like they are talking about large data sets and mathematical models, so in depth this level of collaboration is not mentioned, so we can eliminate second also. When I go to option number 3, the desire to diversify the research and answer important questions has led to several collaboration between physicists and other social scientists. And then what? Okay, so because last line of the this particular excerpt says that clear benefits are there. Okay, so we can see in option number 3 the point is mentioned, but the benefit is coming out of that. This particular essence is missing. You can say the major essence comprise of this clear benefits line. So it is in the option number 4. Despite differences in their research styles, these collaborations have yielded important research findings. So you can see option number 4 fits. So this one is our essence. We will not take third option only because it is not completing the main essence of beneficial yield or the clear benefit coming out of the collaboration. Let's move on to question number 2, which is from this particular passage. Let's understand the passage first. So, in case of paragraph number 1, the job of a peer reviewer is thankless. Okay, so if somebody is providing some review, the job is thankless. Collectively, academics spend around 70 million hours every year evaluating each other's manuscripts on the behalf of scholarly journals, and they usually receive no monetary compensation and little, if any, recognition for their effort. Okay, so some do add as a way to keep abreast in developments in their field, some simply see it as a duty or discipline. So either way, academic publishing would likely crumble without them. So means they are important part of academic publishing. So what happens when you come to para number 2? Some scientists in recent years, what they have started posting their reviews online, and they want to claim credit for their work. Okay. Sites like Publons allow researchers to either share entire referee reports or simply list the journals from whom they have carried out a review. Now, what happens? The rise of this particular site, Publon, suggests that academics are increasingly placing value on work of peer review and asking others, such as grant funders, to do the same. So what's that vital or important in public or peer culture of academia? There is also immense value in data underlying peer review. So sharing a peer review data could help journals stamp out fraud, inefficiency, systematic bias in academic publishing. Now, when you come to the next three paragraphs, you see that how it works. Okay, so what happens when they start with peer review data? It is a kind of study based on nearly 24,000 submissions to biomedical journal eLife. Okay, and this example shows that there were women and non-Westerners, and they were underrepresented among all those peer reviewers. Only 1 in 5 was a female. So you can see this is a case of gender issue, gender biasness is there. Openly publishing data could perhaps also help journals address another problem in academic publishing, like fraudulent peer reviews. For example, minority of authors have been known to use phony email addresses to pose an outside expert, and then they review their own manuscripts. Fine. So opponents are also there for this open peer review. What they say, they argue that confidentiality is a very vital or significant integrity of the review process. Okay, so referees may be less critical of manuscript if they report and publish, especially if they are revealing their identities by signing them. So some also hold concern that these may deter referees from agreeing to judge manuscripts in first place, or they will take longer to do so of fear of scrutiny. Now what happens evenly when the content of reviews and the identity of reviewers can't be shared publicly? Perhaps General could share the data with outside researchers for study, or they could release other figures that wouldn't compromise the anonymity of reviewers. But what happens here is important question is how long the reviewing process takes place. How many researchers, editors have to reach out to an average to find out one who will carry out the work, the geographic distribution of peer reviewers? We don't know. Now, last paragraph says that opening up this underlying review process will not fix this particular problem entirely. Why? Because there are instances, examples in which there are valid reasons to keep content of peer reviews hidden and identify of the referees confidential. But the norm should shift from opacity in all cases to opacity when only when necessary. Means you can see the main idea or the central idea often shows the role of this peer review in academic publishing, and this is a kind of thankless role. There is growing support for increasing transparency, but by sharing this data you could help address issues like inefficiency, gender bias, fraud, etc. But there are concerns about maintaining confidentiality as well, because potential negative effects on the review process can occur. Despite this concern, the passage suggests that the norm should shift toward greater openness with confidentiality maintained only when necessary. Okay, so let's start with the questions. Based on the passage, we can infer that author would most probably support that. Now see, in this particular question, when you come to first, publishing peer review data rather than publishing actual reviews. Now, the first option is saying this rather than this, means this over this. The author is not supporting publication of actual reviews. Now let's check that author would most probably support this or not. From for option number 1, paragraph number 5 from the passage I have taken. So you can see that in this particular paragraph, opponents of open peer review commonly argue confidentiality is vital. Okay, and in this particular para only, especially if they are revealing their identities by signing them. So the publication of actual reviews means identities are signing them. So author is like review process may be less critical of manuscript if their reports are published. Okay, so author is actually supporting confidentiality. So this publication of actual reviews or peer review data, this is not supported. So you can eliminate this. Okay, last line you can see some hold concerns that open reviewing may deter referees from agreeing to judge manuscripts in the first place, or they will take longer to do so out of fear of scrutiny. So this consequence is also mentioned, so we cannot take this. When you come to option number 2, the option number 2 is preserving the autonomy of reviewers. and anonymity of reviewers to protect them from criticism. So when I talk about this, option 2, paragraph number 6 mentions this. Okay, now preserving of this anonymity, right? Let's check. To protect them from criticism. When I come to paragraph number 6, even the content of the reviews and identity of reviewers can't be shared publicly. Why this cannot be shared? Perhaps could share the data with outside researchers for study. Okay, or they could release other figures that wouldn't compromise on anonymity of reviewers, but that might answer important question about how long the review process takes place. Okay, and how many researchers, editor have to reach out on an average to find who will carry out the work and the geographic distribution of the peer reviews. Okay, now this paragraph does not include protect them from criticism, means this is not supported, so we have to eliminate this. Similarly, when I come to option number three says more careful about screening to ensure recruitment of content familiar peer reviews. So you can see more careful about screening to ensure what? Recruitment of content familiar peer reviewers. Now, paragraph number 3 talks about like Pavilion suggests that this work increasingly placing value on the work of peer review and asking others, such as grant funders, to do the same. While that's vital in the public parish culture of academia, and there is also immense value in data underlying peer review. Sharing could help journals stamp out fraud, inefficiency, systematic systemic bias in academic publishing, right? So all these three are mentioned, so more careful, but this recruitment of content family reviewers is not mentioned, so this is not something which author would support. Now come to option number 4, right? Greater transparency across peer review process in academic publishing. So this greater transparency, even in case of paragraph number 6, you can see that even when the content of review and identity of reviewers can't be shared publicly, perhaps journal could share the data with outside researchers for study, or they could release other figures that wouldn't compromise on anonymity of the reviewers. But that might answer important questions about how long the reviewing process takes place, and average who will find this, who will carry out the work. Means they are actually talking about that you should have some proper transparency. Okay, so this can be inferred from option number 4, which is directly mentioned, not directly, but yes, indirectly mentioned in paragraph number 6. So this is supported by the author. Let's move to the next question. Which of the following is the only reason not given in favor of making peer review data public? Okay, so it can tackle the problem of selecting appropriately qualified reviewers for academic writing, highlight gender and race biasness currently existing in selection of reviewers, deal with peer review fraud, such as author publishing bogus review of their own work, address various inefficiencies and fraudulent practices that continue in academic publishing process. So in paragraph number 3, as we have discussed, the rise of publions suggests that academics are increasingly placing value on peer review and other things. So grant funders to do the same. So what is this culture? This culture, we are talking about journals could stamp out fraud, inefficiency, systematic bias. So inefficiencies are here, frauds are here, race biasness comes to systematic biases. Three things are already given here. Even when you come in the next paragraph, in paragraph number 4, you can see only around 1 in 5 US female are this biases is again mentioned. Fraudulent practices are mentioned. Then phoning email means this one, review of their own work, bogus author publishing. Everything is mentioned here in paragraph number 3 and 4, but the author is not talking about qualified reviewers of academic writing. So our answer becomes option number 1. Why? Because this question is asking not given in favor of. So all the 2, 3, 4, 3 options are given and first option is not given. 4. According to the passage, some are opposed to making peer reviews public for the following reasons, except that it is. So, except. Okay, so we have to find is some are opposed to making peer reviews public. So why these people are opposed? So the reasons are given and you have to find the except. Let's start. Delays the manuscript evaluation process as reviewers would take longer to write their reviews. Then reviewers more reluctant to review manuscripts, especially if they are critical of submitted work, leaves the reviewer unexposed to unwarranted and unjustified criticism or comments from others, deters or prevents reviewers from producing honest if critical review that are vital to the sound publishing process. Now you can see when I talk about this paragraph number 5, it or directly mentions that confidentiality is very important. Okay, and integrity of review process. Less critical of manuscripts if their reports are published, if they are revealing their identities by signing them. Some of them hold concern open reviewing may deter referees from agreeing to judge manuscript. So we can talk about option number 4 directly given here. May deter referees to just judge agreeing to judge the manuscript in first place, and take and they will take longer to do so out of fear of scrutiny. Out of fear of scrutiny. So this is also mentioned when I come to make reviewers are reluctant to review manuscripts if these are critical of submitted work, so less critical of manuscript if their reports are published. So this one is also mentioned in paragraph number 5. So we can say option 1, 2, 4 are mentioned since they are asking except. So our answer becomes option number 3 because it is not talking about, author is not mentioning about unexposed to unwarranted, unjustified criticism. This arena has not been looked by the author. So let's start with the next question. All of the following are listed as reasons why academics choose to review other scholars' work except. Okay, so let's see. It is mentioned in the initial of the passage that as we have seen that these people started now reviewing these things for other people. Okay, so why they have started this? So it is seen as a form of service to academic community. Keep it helps to, them keep current with cutting edge ideas their academic in their academic disciplines, opportunity to expand their influence. Some use this as an opportunity to publish their own review work. So in case of paragraph number 3, the advantages are given that why academics choose to review other scholars' work. And then you have to find except. So first we work on the reasons what I mentioned. So you can see in para number 3, public or parish culture is mentioned. Immense value in data underlying peer review. Sharing could help journals stamp out fraud, inefficiency, systematic bias in academic publishing. So I can see service to academic community. So vital in publish or parish culture of academia. Yes, a kind of service is there. So we can keep it as a reason. Current with cutting edge ideas in academic discipline. Yes, you can also keep it. Why? So there is also an immense value of data underlying peer review. Yes, because it is a kind of value, it is a service, both are coming to same flow. It is seen as an opportunity to expand their influence in academic community. So influence is not mentioned. Some use this as an opportunity to publicize their own review work. Yes, publish or paris passing value and asking others such as grant funders to do the same. So this is also mentioned, but the influence is not mentioned, and since we have to find except, so our answer becomes option number 3. Okay, so now let's start with question number 6. So there is a sentence that is missing in the paragraph, and what you have to do is you have to put this particular sentence into this paragraph. See, my fellow night owls grab a strong cup of coffee and gather around. So we can just judge that the person is not talking about any animals or night owls. The person is talking about some human beings who are what? Who are actually doing studies or work at night time. So night owls are used. And I have great news. For a long time, our kind has been unfairly maligned, stereotyped as lazy, undisciplined. Today, we ought to be morning larks, advised to go to bed early so we can wake before 5 a.m., run a marathon before breakfast, like high flyers seem to do. Now, however, we are having the last laugh. Why we are having the last laugh? Okay, so this was a great start. Now what happens, it may be a tad more complicated than that. Study published last week, which you may have already seen while scrolling at 1 a.m., suggests that staying up late could be good for brain power. So this is one study which is actually appreciating their late night hours, and it is this study a thinly veiled PR exercise conducted by a caffeine pill company? No, it's legit. Now, what happens when you talk about these two sentences? Study published. This is study, so we cannot put anything between because it is continuation of the sentence. Then fourth one, research led by academics at Imperial College London suggests studied data on more than 26,000 people and found that self-declared night owls generally tend to have higher cognitive scores. So there is one more research is there, so we can check it out that we are talking about something. Okay, so this is in continuation and we are talking about something which came, and after that we are putting up studies around this, so we can just check it out. Science is officially crowned as superior to our early rising brethren. So what is this statement? It may be a tad more complicated than that. Then for proving this, that this is the fraud, some kind of not fraud, but some kind of exercise PR activity or some kind of study. So for proving that, the author is giving these two statements. So you can put it here on two, right? We cannot put it here. I have a great news coffee round because for a long time. So this is continuation of what their life is, and author introducing the lifestyle of night owls. Then in case of four, we are not able to break the continuation of the examples of both the researches, so it will go in two. So as you can see, the option number two is mentioned here in third one, so this becomes our answer. Okay, let's start with